It was the summer of 1942. Inside a quiet government office in Washington, D.C., a single document sat on a polished oak table. Officers and advisors leaned over it, their faces tense. The plan was bold, secret, and entirely unsigned. No one knew if it would ever see action. In 1942, the United States was still finding its footing in a world engulfed by war. The shock of Pearl Harbor lingered. Cities buzzed with rationing campaigns. Factories shifted to military production. But far from the battlefields, in dim government offices, a different kind of struggle unfolded, a battle of decisions, strategies, and secrets. A small group of military advisors and civilian analysts drafted what would become known as the Northern Strategy. Its purpose was simple yet audacious: to prevent enemy infiltration along the Atlantic coast and to preempt potential sabotage within the continental United States. The plan relied on covert operations, intelligence gathering, and carefully coordinated defensive maneuvers. Implementing it would require absolute secrecy and total commitment. The office where the plan was drafted was cluttered with maps, reports, and typewritten notes. Strings connected cities on maps, and diagrams marked hypothetical landing sites. Officers argued quietly but fiercely over every paragraph. Some saw the strategy as essential, a safeguard for the nation. Others worried it risked public exposure or political backlash. The tension was palpable. President Roosevelt had been informed of preliminary drafts. He expressed caution but did not approve full implementation. Military leaders were divided. Some questioned whether the plan was feasible. Others doubted the intelligence it relied on. Funding was limited, and urgency competed with uncertainty. The advisors understood that any misstep could have severe consequences, yet they continued refining the document in meticulous detail. Days turned into weeks. Each new draft carried notes in the margins. Suggestions for troop movements, surveillance, and civilian coordination were debated endlessly. No signature appeared at the bottom of the plan. The document existed in a state of suspended authority, alive on paper but inert in practice. Outside the office, the nation focused on the global war effort, unaware of the delicate decisions being weighed in silence. By late summer, the Northern Strategy was circulating through the War Department. Only a select few had seen it in full. Its presence shaped discussions and priorities, even as it remained unsigned. Advisors whispered about its potential and risks. The plan represented a crossroads, a moment where bold action could meet careful hesitation. Yet, despite its urgency, it remained untouched, waiting for a commitment that never came. The Northern Strategy lingered in bureaucratic limbo, its fate uncertain. Its creators knew the plan might vanish without recognition. And in the bustling capital, life went on, the unsigned document quietly marking a shadow of what might have been. By September 1942, the urgency of the Northern Strategy had grown. Reports of minor incidents, sabotage in factories, unexplained equipment failures, and intercepted messages reached the War Department. Advisors urged that action was necessary. Every day without a decision felt like wasted opportunity. The plan's proponents argued that early implementation could prevent larger crises. Yet opposition remained firm. Senior generals demanded more evidence. Politicians feared public alarm. Intelligence officers questioned whether threats existed within the United States at all. Meetings stretched late into the night. Each session ended with no resolution. The signature that could bring the plan to life remained absent. The Northern Strategy existed only on paper, but its presence shaped every discussion, every precaution, every allocation of resources. Inside the War Department, tension was palpable. Officers whispered in corridors. Couriers delivered documents with strict instructions. Each envelope was handled with care. Analysts worked by lamplight, checking maps and decoding messages. Every possible scenario was considered. Questions were raised about civilian involvement. Could local militias be discreetly prepared? How should coastal observation posts be deployed? Every minor decision referenced the plan, even as it went unsigned. The delay carried real consequences. Small acts of sabotage continued. Some reports were dismissed as anomalies. Opportunities to intercept potential threats were lost. The Northern strategy, despite remaining inactive, cast a shadow over operations. Advisors and officers adjusted behavior, anticipating moves that were never executed. The plan's influence was subtle, hidden, yet undeniable. By October, frustration grew among the strategy's supporters. They circulated annotated diagrams, memoranda, and charts. They tried to convince skeptics that waiting could be costly. Yet bureaucratic caution held firm. Leadership hesitated, unsure if the risks of exposure outweighed potential benefits. The unsigned plan became a silent symbol of what might have been, an invisible pressure guiding decisions while never fully coming to life. Outside the offices, life continued. Factories produced tanks and munitions. Civilians followed rationing schedules. The global war raged in Europe and the Pacific. Yet in Washington, a handful of men carried the weight of an unapproved strategy. They knew the Northern strategy could have prevented incidents or saved lives, but they could do nothing without authorization. By the end of fall, the plan had settled into limbo. Its drafts filled filing cabinets. Its maps collected dust. The people who had labored over it remembered every line, every contingency, but to the broader world, the Northern strategy did not exist. Its potential faded quietly, leaving only the faint memory in the minds of those who had believed in it. By December 1942, the consequences of inaction were becoming apparent. Reports from the Midwest described unexplained equipment failures in factories producing war materials. Coastal watch stations picked up unusual signals late at night. Nothing catastrophic had happened, yet, but the Northern strategy could have addressed these incidents before they escalated. Advisors began to realize how close the nation had come to preventable crises. Tension inside the War Department reached a peak. Advisors gathered to present charts, intercepted messages, and detailed analyses. Every argument highlighted the urgency of implementation. Officers warned that waiting had already allowed small disruptions to grow. Each illustration of potential risk was carefully prepared, but the signature was still missing. Senior generals and politicians remained cautious, fearing public alarm and political fallout. The plan's bold measures, which once inspired hope, now seemed like a dangerous gamble in the eyes of leadership. The Northern strategy had become a silent specter. Though never activated, its presence influenced countless decisions. Troop deployments were adjusted, coastal observation protocols were tightened, and intelligence operations moved with heightened vigilance. Every officer who had studied the plan carried its logic in their mind. Even as no operations were executed, the unsigned document shaped the conduct of the war effort on home soil. Outside the War Department, life in the United States continued uninterrupted. Civilians went about daily routines. Factories operated at full capacity. News of global battles dominated headlines. Few noticed the quiet tension inside Washington. The Northern strategy, though prepared in detail, remained invisible to the public. Its significance was measured only by the absence of its actions, the small failures, the overlooked threats, and the opportunities never seized. By mid-December, small acts of sabotage began to accumulate. Minor fires, unexplained delays in production, and intercepted but incomplete messages suggested a growing pattern. The advisors who had drafted the Northern Strategy recognized that these incidents might have been prevented. Each unsigned page represented a chance that was lost. The gap between preparation and action became painfully clear. The plan, alive in paper and memory, could not intervene. The final meetings were tense and quiet. Officers reviewed maps and notes, tracing hypothetical enemy movements. They debated what could have been done if the plan had been signed. The discussions ended without resolution. The document remained untouched. Its potential impact was never realized. In that December, the Northern Strategy reached its climax, not through action, but through absence. Its failure to be signed shaped the course of minor events. The advisors and officers carried the weight of knowledge. Yet to the wider world, nothing had happened. History, for those months, moved forward unaware. The plan lingered in memory, a ghost of strategy and preparation. The plan was never signed. Officers retired quietly. Advisors were reassigned. The oak table where the Northern Strategy had rested was cleared. Papers were filed away in locked cabinets. Maps, diagrams, and notes gathered dust. The Northern Strategy existed only in memory. Few remembered its details. Even fewer understood its scope. Those who had labored over it carried it silently, like a shadow in the mind. Outside, the nation moved on. Factories hummed. Streets bustled. Life went forward. The unsigned plan made no headlines. Months passed. The document faded from immediate attention. Archival staff stored it in numbered boxes. Time turned it into a footnote. Its creators spoke of it only in whispers. Each retold memory was quieter than the last. The urgency, the debates, the tension, all vanished. Only the faintest echoes remained. Events unfolded without the plan. Small acts of sabotage were noticed, investigated, and contained. Major crises did not occur. The world did not know what had almost happened. The Northern Strategy had shaped nothing directly. Yet it shaped the minds of those who had known it. Decisions, precautions, and small adjustments were influenced by the plan's mere existence. The offices where the plan had been drafted were repurposed. Chairs were moved. Lamps replaced. The smell of ink and cigarette smoke disappeared. The corridors where officers had whispered in secret were now empty. Silence filled the rooms. A quiet weight remained, invisible but palpable. By 1943, the Northern Strategy was forgotten by history. Only archived folders bore its name. Its significance was invisible to the public. Its lessons, if any, were lost. People who had been part of its creation either retired, passed away, or moved to other assignments. Their knowledge vanished with them. The plan itself survived on paper alone. Numbered boxes, file cabinets, and dust were all that remained. No signature ever appeared. No action ever followed. No ceremony marked its existence. No one outside the small circle even knew it had been considered. Time erased it further. Histories would mention battles and victories, but not this plan. Its story was absent from textbooks. Its existence lingered in silence. A quiet gap in memory, a shadow of what might have been. The Northern Strategy remained unsigned. Unexecuted. Forgotten. History moved forward. The nation did not notice the absence. And in the empty offices, on the forgotten shelves, the plan waited, silent, unsigned, and invisible to all but the memories of a few. If this story mattered to you, consider subscribing. More forgotten history is coming.